Hello everyone, and welcome back to Witchinary. If you have yet to subscribe to this channel, please do so because we are getting crafty. Today I wanted to share with you 8 cards that I made using the My Monthly Hero Art Kit for June 2018. So let's get started. Before I go into my cards, I really want to show you the kit itself and a couple of goodies that I finally got. So here's the kit, and it brings this wonderful layering stamp. I also got 2 of the add-ons, the Beach Please and the Beach Sentiments. I really like the sentiments, so I definitely wanted to get them. I also got about like 3 different distress ink sets, as well as some Tombow Mono permanent adhesive and this tonic guillotine, because as you guys have commented before, I kind of did need a new adhesive and I needed a new guillotine so that way I can assure that I'm cutting in straight lines. Anyway, for my first card, I wanted to do some ink swooshing with that beautiful seafoam shimmering spray that came in the kit. To do this, I took out some Hero Arts acetate and I took some Strathmore watercolor paper and I just sprayed it onto the acetate and just started doing some basic ink swooshing. I wasn't really sure how to use the spray in this set. I've not been successful in previous attempts with other sprays and other things, so I was very curious to see what I could do with it. And I think that this was a good idea, just do some ink swooshing, and I'm really happy with this color, so I'm really happy they included it in the set. I then took a piece of vellum out and I wanted to do some layering with the clouds, and I am using the soft granite ink that came in the set. Guys, you have no idea how happy I am that they finally included this in the kit. I've been using soft granite ink in my videos for like ever. You know, it's one of my favorite inks of all time, so now everyone has it and I'm very, very happy about it. Yeah, I have to admit, using vellum to ink on my clouds, not the best idea. They are kind of slippery, and if you're not careful, you will slide. So please be careful. I'm going to use my heat tool just to zap these dry just a little bit, and then I'm going to get these die cut. Once they are die cut, I made sure to die cut some plain images as well, or just some plain vellum with the same shape, because what I'm going to do is that I'm going to layer it with the other layer. Well, I'm going to stamp the vellum and then I'm going to layer it on top. But first I'm going to stamp the clean vellum with some unicorn ink from Hero Arts. Unicorn ink has actually been given to us in a different kit, and I think it was the kit that came in December or November of 2017. So once you're done there, you're going to layer those images on top of each other, but you're going to, of course, use a little bit of adhesive to adhere both pieces of vellum. And then all I did was arrange these images throughout the card itself. I used some foam circles and just a little bit of the little adhesive and foam that keeps those in place to just prop up some of my clouds to give it some dimension, and I used my foam circles and others to give that some dimension, and it really worked out. I'm really happy how this turned out, and you guys definitely get to see how indecisive I really am when it comes to how to layer everything down. I wanted to use the sentiment greetings from my happy place, and I wanted to use some Buttercup Ranger embossing powder for this on some paper bag paper from Paper Source. However, I didn't like that the color wasn't as vibrant as I wanted it to be, at least against that beautiful seafoam shimmer paper. So I brought out some of my favorite black matte paper and I decided to heat emboss on that instead. And since this paper is super matte and super heavyweight, I figured that would be perfect, and I love the way that came out. It's super vibrant and it's very, very crisp. That yellow stands out perfectly against the black background. I'm then going to trim this, and because I don't want to waste any paper, I'm just going to adhere this over the paper bag paper that I was already using, and we're going to call that a day after I trim it. I am really happy I don't need as much adhesive anymore, but I am so used to using adhesive that I still do, and it's just like a nervous twitch at this point. So I'm really sorry. I don't need it. The Tombow permanent adhesive is actually really good. To finish off this card, I'm of course going to bring out a little bit of my Ebony drops, and I'm just going to add a couple of dots, and just like that, we are done with our first card of this kit. For my second card, I wanted to do more vellum layering, but instead of using gray to give the clouds a little bit of a sad feel, I wanted to use the Summer Sky ink that came in the kit. And of course, this ink is just very, very not cooperative on vellum. I don't think any ink is honestly cooperative on vellum unless you're using Stays On ink, and because that didn't come in the kit and I didn't want to bring out too many things from outside of the kit, I decided that I was gonna just make it work. I'm then gonna do the exact same thing I did in my last card, which is just stamp the second layering image on a clean piece of vellum that's already been die cut using some unicorn ink, and I'm just going to set that to the side to dry. Once it's dry, still being very careful, I am going to use some adhesive to adhere both images together. I did not actually wait till it was completely dry, so it's a little slippery and I have to go back over it and add more adhesive. Once I'm done there, I'm going to take a card base made from some Crest Solar White 130 pound paper, and again another piece of paper from Paper Source in the paper bag, or in the color paper bag, and I'm going to adhere my images using a combination of foam circles and just regular adhesive. I also took out a piece of paper from my stash. I will be sure to link down my supplies below because I can't remember what company this is, so I will do that. But anyway, I decided to take a little piece of paper from there because it was nautical, and I also wanted to just give a little bit of a different edge to my card. I could have easily just made my own pattern paper, but I wasn't thinking about that at the time. So I am going to adhere the pattern paper to some matte black cardstock, and then I'm going to adhere that down to my card base, and then I'm going to do the same for my paper bag image that's actually adhered to a piece of pool paper from Paper Source. And here I am just doing those last minute little edits, you know. After I'm done there, I decided to take the sentiment of see you soon, I thought it said see you later, and I'm just going to take some unicorn ink and I'm just going to stamp that on directly onto the paper bag paper, and just like that, we are done with this card. For my next card, I have to admit, when I saw Yana Smakula's video with the beautiful pink sunset and everything, I really needed to create that card. Like, it is so beautiful and it's so perfect, and I knew a couple of friends that would really like that card, so I decided to recreate it. And while she was making that video, she said that you can make your beach layer ring thing any color you wanted, so I wanted to challenge that, and I will admit to being my petty self. I wanted to make one in every color because that's who I am, but I decided against it eventually because Mama didn't have all those inks. But I did decide to do a yellow beach layering stamp with the actual kit, and I wanted to do like a greenish one as well as the pink one that Yana Smakula did. Later I found out after I'd done all of my filming and flipping through my Instagram, I realized that Nicole Sphorr did something very similar with similar colors, and I was like, oh, man, everyone's gonna think I copied her. But to be fair, Nicole Sphorr is amazing, and if I was gonna copy anyone's inspiration, it would be hers. Besides, great minds think alike. I 100% had no idea she had made something similar. So anyway, for my yellow base color, I used Squeezed Lemonade. For the blue greenish card, I used the lightest color that came in the Hero Arts color inks. And then for my pink card, I used some Spun Sugar as my base color. For my second layer on my yellow card, I decided to use some Mustard Seed Distress ink right on top of that, and I'm using my Mini Misty because I really wanted to make sure I got a solid impression, and these stamps are kind of big, so I really needed to make sure that that was going to be done. For my greenish blue card, I went ahead and I used some Peacock Feather, I believe this is called, because it had a greenish tint to it, so I decided that would probably be best. For my pink card, I went back in and with a little bit of Picked Raspberry Distress ink, and I just layered that on top of each other. And I have to admit, I'm really, really pleased with how these came out. Thank you so much, Yana Smakula, for making this card. The inspiration is wonderful, and honestly, I don't know. I think I would have came up with something similar, but I wouldn't have thought about reversing the actual stamp set to bring the ocean all the way down. So, girl, you better work all the way in the Ukraine. You're amazing. To then get the little bits of empty space that I hadn't yet, stamped over, I just took my blending tool and I went over the white space with the lightest shade of every single card. So for my yellow card, it was the squeezed lemonade. That's a distress oxide ink. And then for everything else, it's the same sort of deal, and I want it to blend out from lightest all the way to darkest, and the darkest just in the center. So for my pink card, it was the spun sugar, and then my second color was the picked raspberry, and for my inner color, it would be fired brick. That is the red color I ended up using because that is the only red color that really showed up against this card. So listen, I made it work, okay? So for my inner color as well, for the blue card, I actually used some picked lawn or some mowed lawn from Distress, and I really, really like the way that this came out. At first, I was a little bit hesitant about the blue card. It kind of looked like a really sad ocean, but it really ended up being really nice. I feel like this is like the beginning for the Aurora Borealis or something. So I was kind of nice, or if Cthulhu was going to come out the water, I guess that's true too. So here are the 3 cards. Just like Yana Smakula, I wanted to put a couple of, clouds up there, and I came to quickly realize that the darker that your paper actually is, the better the unicorn ink shows up on it. So for the pink card, the clouds showed up well, but for my yellow and my bluish green card, it didn't. And I thought this was really good to showcase in case you guys were thinking about making this card at home. It's kind of like in Pinterest when you see like a great Pinterest recipe, but then like you try to recreate it and it's like awful. Yeah, I'm doing it for you so that way you can see the pros and the cons and whether or not this is super easy to recreate. I also took like an hour and a half to make all 3 of these cards, so if you're looking for something super quick, this ain't the card for you. For cards. Once I'm done with everything, I decided that I am going to take a piece of vellum paper and cut it into strips. The actual final result that you guys see here is not what I ended up going with, only because my heat embossing wasn't dry, and when I went to go adhere it down to my Crest Solar White base, it just ended up rubbing off and I hated it, so I had to redo it. So I'm sorry that what you guys see here isn't always the truth. I'm joking, no. It isn't what the final result is, but I still wanted to show it to you guys because, man, I had a rough time. So here it is in all its glory. Also, I wanted to take out this time to apologize to you guys for not uploading for like a week and a half or so. Don't worry, I wasn't sad in a corner somewhere. It was quite the opposite. I had ordered a bunch of supplies from Simon Says Stamp and 2 new cutting plates because mine are hanging on by a strand, and unfortunately my package has yet to arrive. So all of last week I had all these brilliant ideas of like different seasonal cards to make with the Sending Sunshine collection, and I was just twirling my thumbs at home, just wondering what to do, wondering when my package was gonna come, and it never did, guys, and I was so sad and it was so bad. But here we are, and it is what it is. So I apologize for that delay. As of yesterday, I saw that the package was coming, so next week I do intend to upload a couple of those videos once I get the package and make the cards. And here are the 3 cards. For my next card, I really kind of wanted to make something like the ocean scenes that you saw, but instead of using distress inks and only a couple of the inks that were brought in the set, I wanted to use the actual inks in the set to see how they coordinated together to make that beautiful ocean background. So I did the layers with the softest layer being the lightest ink, working my way down to the most vibrant, or the darkest, and then I did the sky with some salty ocean distress ink. I then just trimmed off the bottom of it and put a little bit of paper bag cardstock at the bottom to make like the sandy shore. Looking back on it, I really should have put the hello, greetings from my happy place stamp here, but I didn't, and I kind of regret it. I went ahead and put the clouds, and now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take my paper trimmer and I'm going to cut this panel into strips, about 8 strips to be exact. And my inspiration behind this card was, have you ever gone into like Burlington Coat Factory or somewhere similar and you see like the images that are cut into like 3 panels that you're supposed to put into like your living room or your craft room or wherever? Well, this layering stamp set was kind of reminiscent of that for me. So I decided that I wanted to put that into an actual card, or at least make something similar to it in a card, and here is that recreation of that. I'm not saying I struggled a ton with this set, but it was kind of one of those things where like there's only so many things you can do, and yeah, I had gotten the add-ons, but then I got overwhelmed with one too many things to do, and I kind of had to like reel myself in at some point with all of this. So I just went with what was kind of easiest and at the moment to make, and then I always have the stamp set with me in case I think of something else, and if I do, I'll just pull it back out like in August or something and make something else with it, and you guys can see. To finish off this card, I decided to heat emboss You Sure Are Beautiful from the Sentiments with some Paper Source white ink. I also took out my Caribbean blue Nuvo Drops and 1 seashell from the stickers, and that finished off that card. For my next and final card, I wanted to make a really tropical card with like a really tropical gift tag on it. So I took like a gift tag from my stash and I just traced it over some regular paper, and then I took the pineapple stamp that came with the I believe this was the Beautiful or the Beach Sentiments stamp set, and I took out my Squeezed Lemonade Distress Oxide inks, and I started stamping the pineapple down. I also took out some Perfect Pearls from my stash, and I started adding the Perfect Pearls to the actual pineapples. The reason why I did that is because I know that Distress Oxides are amazing against dark backgrounds, but they weren't vibrant enough for me, and I know that's saying a lot because y'all know I'm very dull. So the Perfect Pearls actually adheres down to anything that's wet, and it creates a bond with it, and it also adds a spectacular amount of shimmer, and it's amazing. So I decided to do that for the sake of the shimmer and for the sake that this is a summer card. I then decided to take the little leaf image that's on the beach sentiment stamp set, and I started stamping it down with some Distress Mode Lawn ink, just because that always reminds me of the tropics. And I also took out my Peacock, this is my it's not an evergreen, I forget what the name of this color is, but I took it out because it's greenish, and I really wanted to just add a little bit of layering to this card. So I just went around that until my entire border was extremely saturated with leaves. I then decided to take from the Beach Please stamp set, I decided to take a pair of sunglasses and I'm not sure which one of these images is from where, but it was from one of those 2 sentiments or from one of those 2 stamp sets, and I just went back in and stamped them. For my colors, I used some mustard seed for my sunshine. I tried to use some of the shimmer seafoam spray for the glasses and the beach waves, but it wasn't working out, so I just ended up taking some of the Summer Sky ink, and I just added some water to it to just make the little waves. And I really, really, really love this card. I like how tropical and how fun it is. I took some twine out because, of course, it's not really a tag if it doesn't have string to attach it to something. I am a sucker for cards like this too. I've always kind of wanted to get into mixed media, but I am kind of an organized mess where I think mixed media would give me like a panic attack. So anytime that I get to use like a gift tag in a card, you know that I'm living my best life because I'm just like secretly excited. I took out another piece of that matte black cardstock from my stash and I decided to adhere my gift tag to it just to give it a little bit more like sturdiness, just because my scrap paper is about, I want to say it's like 60 or 80 pound cardstock or cover cardstock, and it wasn't like heavy enough for me. So I decided to do that, and once that's done, I then finally tied a bow around the hole of my tag, which was a little problematic, I'm not gonna lie. So you guys are gonna see me fidgeting with this for a little bit, but it is what it is, it's art. So yeah, but this was a great kit. I did come up with other ideas. I didn't like the way they looked, so I didn't include them in my video. Plus this video is already pretty long, and if you've made it this far, kudos to you. But yeah, now I really honestly love the way that this turned out, and I'm sorry, it's been a really long day at work, so I'm just stuttering a little bit. But yeah, once I'm done fidgeting with this, I just take some foam squares and I just prop this up. I just prop this up on my card, and then I just adhere all of this to a Crest Solar White card base, which is what I use for all of my card bases. Honestly, it's just so simple, and I already have so many of them pre-cut that it just made sense, you know? So finally, once this is nice and done, I of course don't cut very, very well, so I just had to trim that down a little bit, so it is going to actually be smaller, like slightly smaller than an A2 size card. And once I liked how this fit, I will go ahead and I adhere it down fully. And there is my final card. Thank you guys so much for watching this, and I hope you guys come back next time. Have a great day.